I can take a couple of questions. Go ahead.
Thanks, Siva. Very interesting talk. So as you go into 3D scaling and the 3D NAND, what are some of the stability issues or thermal issues as you build up the 3D and interconnect? And also, are there any packaging impact? Anything you can say about that?
Yeah, very important questions. So the transformation from 2D to 3D is not just in the silicon. What comes afterwards is equally important. When you have that much density, how do I package it? What are the thermal issues? How do I assemble it? There is revolutions happening there also. I did not address them in this talk. Given the density of bits that are going in there, given the fact that the controllers are going to be special for this, given that the firmware that goes with it is going to be special for it, there is a lot of development going on in packaging technologies. Thermally, however, surprisingly, nature works with you on this. The amount of energy needed to flip one bit in 3D is substantially lower than what you need in 2D. So for an identical density, the amount of power on the 3D device is lower. So thermally, it is not quite as dramatic a challenge as you normally expand. However, packaging technologies have to change to accommodate it. I can talk about it separately one-on-one with you on that. You know, you sound like my CEO. That's the first thing he asks. Whenever we go 32, he says, why don't you do 64? When you go to 64, they say, why don't you do 128? There is in all of these, of course, there are physical limits. You know, even the Empire State Building is only that many floors and they didn't build any taller than that. Little things that you don't quite think of become the problem. For example, one of the major enabling technologies in skyscrapers is the elevator. How do you get people up and down that many floors? We have similar problems. How do I get the electrons up and down into that many layers? Each floor has a finite thickness. So if you were to build these kinds of ceilings in each floor, you know when you build 128 floors, it becomes impossibly high. How do I bring that down lower and lower? There is a lot of work going on today. So state of the art today is 24 layers. Next year, it will probably be 48 layers. The following year, if Om Nalamasu actually delivers on everything that he's going to be doing, we probably can have 64 layers in production in the next 2 years. There is nothing that physically stops us from increasing the number of layers, but it is a lot of technology development.
What kind of...
I have one question about all the R&D work that is being done. So what kind of R&D budgets does SanDisk has? And where do you see India's role in this great technology initiative that SanDisk is taking and moving it from whatever layers to 64, 128?
Very, very, very good question. So we spend close to $750 million in R&D. I expect that to grow dramatically. I expect that to keep at the rate of growth of revenue, about 11% of revenue is being spent on R&D, and it probably will go a little higher.
Okay.
India is consuming a substantive amount of that investment. There are 400 R&D people here. Given that this is a intellectual property intensive business, the work that is being done not just in creating the physical structures, but in the design, in the verification, in the various designs of the ASICs that go with it, the various systems that need to be developed, the software that needs to be developed, the firmware that needs to be developed, the products that need to be developed, their validation, all of that is happening in SanDisk here. That's the reason Ganesh, who's sitting here in front, is having such a tough time ramping as fast as we would like to here. There are today, I think, 50 open positions waiting to be filled in SanDisk India, all in R&D. Now, to be able to do this development in a fab, the fabs are in Japan right now, And these are mega fabs that obviously involve billions of dollars of investment every year to make that happen. It's unlikely one of them is going to be here very soon, but the team in Bangalore works very, very closely with these teams in Japan and in the US and in Shanghai, everywhere. It is a truly multinational company with plenty of mobility of people, ideas, and resources back and forth.
So one of the fab that India is developing, can we expect some business maybe after 10 years or 5 years in India? Indian fabs?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the question.
Can the Indian fabs, which are now getting there, like, maybe in 5 years it will be there, can they expect some business from SanDisk?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Without question, yes.
One last question there. Yeah, what kind of changes you see in the memory controller side with the evaluation of 3D and resistive RAM memory?
So the question is regarding controllers,
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Controller technology, as I was describing the problem, you saw how we were talking about the need for interpreting the signals that are coming out. So when the memory senses a 0 or a 1, certain probabilistic events that need to happen. The controller plays a crucial role in enabling that. So for each of these technologies, the controllers become unique. Controller becomes the big engine outside that crunches a lot of it. We have other functions that are needed for the flash. That's just like any other apartment complex, there has to be garbage collection afterwards. There has to be, some things wear out, you need to level the wearing. Many, many such functions are unique for 3D. They are not the same functions as they used to be in 2D. So the engine outside, maybe there's a DSP needed, maybe there is an additional amount of logic functionality that needs to be built in. They all need to be custom built. And Ganesh and his team are creating a lot of those here for both retail purposes and enterprise purposes. I think I'm running out of time, and I will be available afterwards if you guys want to talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would request the chairman of IESA, Mr. Sanjeev Keskar, to kindly come over and give a memento to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Sivaram. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that we get a feeling that some of you have not visited the STPI pavilion. Kindly go inside because there is a ESSCI stall and also MSME stalls. Thank you very much. So once again, I would request all of you to kindly visit the STPI pavilion because there are some very good stalls of MSME as well as ESSCI. Hopefully in the next 20 minutes, which is a tea break, you can also carry your cup, it is close to the stairs. So see you back in 20 minutes. Thank you very much.